Week, everybody. My name is Lauren Rogers, and it is the honor, the joy of my year, and I'm not being hyperbole, it's not hyperbole, to be here and welcome you to the annual conference today. It is one of the most exciting things that we do as an organization. I think it's one of the most exciting parts of the employee ownership community. So, you likely know that the NCEO is a fairly data-driven organization. We're very rooted in facts, and just like Ann mentioned, some of the statistics that are behind this event, I wanted to start off with a couple factlets that I thought you might enjoy. The first of which is that if you are wandering around looking for an open seat, I recommend going over here. There's still a few wide open seats over there. So this is our 44th conference. There are 150 sessions, and that is intentional. There's no conceivable way you could go to all of them, and that is by design because we want y'all to come back next year. Please do. There are also 295 speakers, and I think that's an incredible testament to the amount of expertise and passion and experience that people are willing to share with their other members of our employee ownership community. So I hope you'll take advantage of the amazing expertise from those 295 speakers. The other stat I wanted to share with you is 35 million, which is the number of downloads the TED Talks of our keynote speaker, Adam Grant, has had so far. You likely know that, but I don't expect you to know that Adam Grant was also one of the early speakers at the program for ESOP CEOs and presidents at the University of Pennsylvania. He's on faculty at Wharton, and he spoke at that program before. And should you be a CEO or president or someone coming into that role and you'd like to go to that program at Penn, I recommend you do that. They've got a table and it's easy to find them, so you can get a little bit of that Adam Grant one step removed vibe going there. A couple of statistics I wanted to share with you about this audience. We've got 63% of you here today are from employee-owned companies. That's by far the largest group, not surprising. The second largest group is the 30% of you who are here from service providers. Deeply grateful to all of you. We also have over 70 people from companies that are in the process of considering employee ownership. And if any of you happen to run into them, please make them feel welcome, make a point of answering their questions, help them make a good decision for themselves and their companies about employee ownership. All right, two more statistics. One is the number 1,046, and that's the number of people who are at their first NCEO conference. 1,046, that's 45% of you, are here at their first conference, which means that 55% of you who have been here before, and I'd like to ask those 55% of you to just give a quick hand to welcome our new folks at the conference today. So should you happen not to be clapping, grab one of those people who did and help make sure that this conference turns into exactly what you want it to be. So we have a fair number of CFO and accounting types here. So some people may have already done the math, 1,046, 45%. But let me tell you the actual number. That means that we are at 2,338 people registered for this event, which means it is officially the largest conference ever on employee ownership. Hands off to you. It's fun to share statistics like that. I want to step back and share some other statistics that aren't quite so positive. I'm going to tell you some things that you likely already know, but I think are worth remembering as we go into today and the next 3 days, which is some statistics from the Federal Reserve. Right now, in this country, 37% of us couldn't find $400 in cash for an unexpected emergency. The Fed has been tracking that number for more than a decade, and it actually hasn't gone up. It's actually slightly better than it was 10 years ago. But that's still more than 1 in 3 Americans who are right on the edge of financial crisis. Related, there are 46% of Americans who have no retirement savings at all. On the flip side of that, the Fed also tracks how much the distribution of income and wealth is in this country. You likely know that income is not equally distributed around the country. You likely know that wealth is less equally distributed. You may not know that stock is even more unequally distributed in the country than wealth in general. In fact, the Fed says that if you take the amount of stock held by the richest 1% of the country, that's the same as the amount of stock held by the entire other 99% of the country. That number hasn't changed much either. It's gotten a little bit more concentrated over the last 10 years, but the change isn't dramatic. The point of these numbers is that we've got a tool in this country, in the economy, which is corporate stock. It's the most powerful tool ever created to build wealth. It's what drives economic well-being. If you're in that 1%, the richest 1%, you've got the largest percentage of your assets relative to all other Americans in corporate stock. Stock is what drives your wealth. So one thing we need to do as a country, I humbly believe, is to create more employee ownership. Because if stock is the greatest engine ever to create wealth, then employee ownership is the greatest engine ever created to put stock in the hands of more people. I'd like to ask you to take a look at a spot on our website. It's, I think, one of the most important spots, and it hasn't gotten maybe the amount of publicity it should. If you go to the research tab, look for a section called The Retirement Savings Crisis and the Role of ESOPs. I'm just going to share one stat from that with you, but it's an amazing product from our research team at the NCEO. If you look at just a section of the US economy, if you look at people who are in the decade before normal retirement age, and you compare the people who are in an ESOP to the people who are not in an ESOP, the ESOP participants have about 482% greater wealth in their ESOP accounts compared to the 401k plans of the non-ESOP participants. Say that a different way, ESOP accounts are almost 6 times larger than the median 401k balance for people who don't participate in ESOPs. That is a pretty amazing number, and it holds up if you look at the numbers in different ways. If you look, for example, at lower paid workers, how the ESOP participants in lower paid jobs compared to the lower paid participants in non-ESOP companies. So we've got an amazing tool to solve some of the most profound problems facing our country. And I'd say that's looking at wealth, but it's not just about wealth. I don't think people are here in this room at this conference because they're only focused about making the wealth picture better. I think employee-owned companies are better places to work, have higher qualities of living, and they get more people engaged in disagreements. Employee owners disagree about the best way to make their companies stronger, and they agree about the common shared purpose. So I'd say employee-owned companies are laboratories where people learn to express and work through disagreements toward a common purpose. So if you'll forgive me for waxing a little poetic for a minute, I think all these things add up to a clear picture, which is that we need a different country. We need to be heading toward a different future for our country. I think that's a future where every child has a clear path to a fulfilling, secure life, a path where no family is $400 away from a financial crisis, a country where good ideas and hard work lead to success, a country where people understand disagreement is not enmity. And I think it's a country, in short, that has an ownership culture. If you agree with me, I think the best way to get to that country is to have more employee ownership in the United States and in the world. And if you agree with me about that, the most important thing you can do is make your company great. Make your company the story that people tell each other when they're thinking about what they want their companies to look like. Make your company the model that people want to emulate. And if you agree with me about that, you're in the right place. Because the very best way to make your company great is to lean on the community that's gathered here in this room right now in Milwaukee this week. Let me tell you just a little bit about that community. I mentioned the 295 speakers we have, and I want to be clear how much we owe them, because they are a core part of their community, and they worked hard to be in front of the microphone with you here today. We made them submit an extensive proposal. We told them anything that was a recycled session was not welcome. We had a panel of outsiders judging every proposal multiple times. We have the equivalent of roughly a full-time position that does nothing except evaluate sessions and proposals and turn them into speaking sessions, both at this conference and our forum. The speakers work hard to be here. And part of the reason they are so good is that prior audiences have been diligent about filling out their speaker evaluation forms. So I'd like to ask you to do the same thing. Be sure we know who you loved as a speaker. Be sure if there's somebody you didn't love, you let us know too. But I think you'll find that telling us who the standout speakers are is easy, and it's very helpful for us. Having great speakers is essential to a conference like this, but it's not enough. One thing we also want to do, and I think everyone here wants us to do, is to make sure that new voices are able to present at this conference as well. We need people from just outside our community. We need fresh people in this community. We need people in this community who have been here a long time but haven't spoken. It's a difficult balance to make sure that we've got high standards and allow in new voices. And you're part of the process of making sure that we get that right. So the speakers, they're a core part of the community that you'll be in touch with today. Use them, ask them questions. Another part of our community is that although many of you here are from companies with ESOPs or companies exploring ESOPs or are advisors to ESOPs, the employee ownership community is bigger than ESOPs. We have companies and advisors here who also work with other forms of employee ownership, whether that's direct employee ownership, whether that's a worker cooperative, if it's an employee ownership trust, if it's broad-based stock options. All of this builds the wealth and economic well-being that employee ownership promises. The community is also our regulator. We have two folks here from the Department of Labor. They're here to listen, and I hope you'll have a chance to talk to them and share your stories. They want to hear, and their goal, their mission, is to support the growth of employee ownership. There are also lots of nonprofits here. I'm delighted to have colleagues from all sorts of other nonprofit organizations. We together make this field thrive and prosper. We provide some of the support that lets all of you do what you do so well. And this is an amazing event, but your ownership community, your ownership journey doesn't stop at this conference. My ask for you is that you make sure you use this conference to build in future connections, future conversations with other people you meet here to keep your company strong and growing. One fantastic example of that is the NCEO's peer networks. 31% of our member companies now have at least one person in a peer network, and this is a great opportunity for you to join that group. The peer networks are meeting in person here, and they'll continue to meet online afterward. The number of people participating in peer networks has almost doubled. It's up 90% over the last year. So look around at the membership table, the info booth, and you'll be able to find information about how to join a peer networking group, whether that's a CEO or your communications person, by industry, whether it's for service providers. There are lots of them, and they'll keep growing. For service providers, I want you to look out for work groups, because we'll be doing more. We're devoting more staff time to helping support you accomplish the things you need to do to make this field and your own work more professional. And although roughly 0.6% of the people here are actually on the staff at the NCEO, I'm also incredibly grateful for the opportunity to work with all of my colleagues on staff at the NCEO. I'll mention just a couple changes that have happened recently. Many of you have seen Megan Dries as the new head of our events. We're delighted to have her. Oh, I can't see through the light, sorry. But it's a pleasure to have Megan running all this, and with support from Eva and Maria Llanos. Janie Oviedo, who used to run our events, has stepped into an entirely new role at the NCO. You'll be hearing from her as the head of our new growth and membership engagement team. We've also very recently hired Andrea Di Matteo, who's going to be running the Ownership Culture Survey. We'll talk about that just a little bit. But today is about the people who are here in this room. So I want to just emphasize that we've got, of those 2,300 some people, that adds up to about 39,000 years of experience with employee ownership. So the real joy, the real power of this community are the people who are sitting at all these round tables now. So what I'd like to do is ask you, in just a minute, I'll tell you what to do first. If you could, when I let you know, stand up, take 3 steps, and say hello to somebody that you've never talked to before. You know, say whatever you want, what you're aiming for from this conference, what your company is from, what you're looking for, a cool experience. We'll take just about 3 minutes on that. But all right, if you're ready, stand up, take 3 steps, and say hello to somebody. All right. Thank you, everybody. If you wouldn't mind taking your seats again, that'd be awesome. All right. Hey, Marquis, can we get a little chime here? Thank you, everybody. It does seem to me one of the most magic moments of this conference that on no notice, with no warning, and in 2 seconds, people can start forming good, warm, productive conversations. Keep doing that. Please keep talking to each other. Swap LinkedIns, or if you still use those, what do we used to call them, business cards. Keep swapping those, keep the conversations going, join a peer network, whatever it takes to keep these conversations going. Now, I'd like to invite to the stage Jennifer Briggs, who is the chair of the National Center for Employee Ownership. She's also the CEO of Pure Synergy, and she is an amazing contributor to the health of the NCEO and employee ownership. So please welcome Jennifer Briggs.
Good morning, everyone. So Lauren already thanked all the speakers, but what I want to do is thank them again. But I've been thinking a lot about endings and beginnings, and I'm sure if you're in the ESOP world, you think about that too, of when you start something and when you end something, and how you pass on information between those things. And a lot of that is oral traditions, and we don't think about that so much, of how do we exchange information. So for the speakers, I want to thank you again, but I also want to recognize a really important role that you play. We have 45% new attendees, so roughly half of the people in this room, this is our first conference. So if you are a speaker, you might be the first time somebody is experiencing not only this conference, but the wisdom of employee ownership and what you are passing on to them. And I think that is a really powerful and important role. My first ESOP conference was in 2004. So yeah, so do some math on that. This has been the better part of my life, has been dedicated to building independent middle market businesses that are employee owned. And that first person I remember so vividly is Jenny Vanderslice with Praxis. And in that moment, she made such a powerful impact on my life. So for those of you that are speakers, you know, call them mentors, proteges, whatever framework you want to put on it, you are extending information to so many people. And then when you meet people and in the exhibit halls, remember you're passing on information, and you might be the person who helps them have that magnificent start that gets passed on for generations and generations. On the airplane, I don't know if you're in here, but on the airplane, I met a gentleman who's a professional service provider, and we were also talking about the power of new people coming into ESOP and employee ownership, and how important it is to learn from the people who have more experience, but also equally important is when you're starting to be receptive and to absorb that information. So thank you all for being here, because that power of community that Lauren talked about is we have a common unity, and that is, this is where just it gets ignited. So thank you again to the speakers.
So Jen and I are going to swap back and forth a little bit. Another thing I want to thank the speakers about, and all of you about, is indulging us with a slightly awkward timing. I know some of you traveled on Easter or Easter Sunday. Some people are either not here because of Passover or are here reluctantly because of Passover. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for accommodating the not quite optimal timing of all this. I wanted to give the background that this was partly because we're aiming to be in an early April. We've worked really hard to keep the conference in a farther from other organizations' events so that we wouldn't be asking people to travel for weeks on end. But I can promise you that we will never again have a conference that's backed up next to Easter or over Passover. Good. All right. I also wanted to make a point of thanking a few in particular of the other nonprofits that I mentioned. I'll mention a couple. Well, we have a really tight, positive, productive relationship with our colleagues at the Employee Ownership Expansion Network and all the state centers for employee ownership. If you're involved with one of them, could you just wave your hands around a little bit? Yay! And this evening, I encourage you to go to the breakout sessions, There'll be a side meeting room right off the main reception where you can get together with other people from your state or your region. So I want to call them out and then.
So we have more nonprofits who are incredibly impactful in this. So I want to say thank you for joining us at the conference. We have DOWI, the Democracy at Work Institute, the U.S. Federation of Co-ops, ESCA, the ESOP Association, Expanding ESOPs, Piton, Lafayette Ownership Capital Lab, and the Private Directors Association. So thank you all for supporting this conference and having representatives here. We are, again, that common unity that empowers us. I also want to thank the universities. So we have the Penn program. If you haven't had a chance to visit the booths upstairs, and especially the NCEO library, the Penn program is near the bookstore on the 4th floor, so make sure and check them out. I also want to thank the University of California, San Diego, Kent, and Rutgers. Thank you all for your support, for being here, and thank you all for your energy.
And by the way, if you are interested in getting yourself on video, the Expanding ESOPs folks will be shooting video that you can easily socially media-ify. I'm sure there's a verb in there somewhere. It's a great opportunity, and stop by their booth and they can set that up. All right, Jen and I also have some tips for you to get the most out of today's conference. I'll start with the first one, which is the app. The app is awesome. Just from the numbers that Megan has shared with me, I believe that about 97% of you are already on the app, but please use it. It's a great way to chat with people, to swap information, take notes, and get the most out of this conference.
Another tip is, how many of you brought your employee ownership committee with you? You have representatives. I see a couple hands. When I was at New Belgium, what we called it was POSSE, which was ESOP misspelled backwards. Yeah, think about that one for a minute. But make sure that you take the content back to your company. One of the things, have you guys heard about the forgetting curve? It's really fast. And so the way that you're going to reinforce all of the information that you have here is going back and reteaching it in your companies. So again, use that app. The presentations are in there. Take this back to your companies and really ignite it there.
All right, we're giving you really diverse tips. The next one I'm going to give you is about the ownership culture survey that I mentioned. We're relaunching it actually today at this conference. And I hope you'll stop by and give it a kick, give the tires a kick. It is the only employee survey which is designed explicitly for employee-owned companies. It's got 160 companies have used it over the years. It's been around for 3 decades. More recently came to the NCEO. There are 27,000 respondents in the database, all of whom are employee owners. It's a great resource that I urge you to check out as a way to keep this community momentum going and build a community inside your company.
Lauren mentioned this earlier, but it deserves repeating, is the peer networks. So I'm going to act a little consultanty on you, but one of the ways that we learn is called the 70-20-10 rule. 10% is from books, 20% is from interacting with other people. So join a peer network, because that's where you're really going to get that interaction. And I talked to someone in the elevator. I've been talking to a lot of people, obviously, but I've been talking to somebody in the elevator this morning, and she said one of the things she loved about this conference is that we go deep into topics, and it was really important to have the nuance, because some of these are complex topics. So engage with those peer networks, because that's going to take everything that you learn and make it much more real and applicable for your company, and you're going to develop some great relationships along the way.
All right, here's my last one. We're just about to let you go and hit the sessions, but I would urge you all to visit the Member Lounge, which is on the 2nd floor. It's got a lot of great things, which includes our membership team, and they can help you get the most out of employee ownership in your NCO membership. And it also includes espresso, which is made right there on site by an employee-owned company, Crepes Latte. Okay, so I'm going to round us out. If you haven't, make sure you register for the Fall Forum, because that's an incredible one. But again, I just want to reinforce the power of community. I just invite you to lock that idea into your head of common unity. Is it something that is really powerful between us? I want to restate Lauren's comments from earlier about the power of stock. If you've heard me talk before, I talk about the social engine and the financial engine. And when both of those are powering on high, you get an incredible
just growth. And we've seen that if you've looked at the ESOP research that the NCEO shares, we see that ESOP companies experience growth. And when I say the social engine, I don't just mean employees. They are part of it, but it's also our clients, our consumers. If you work in consumer packaged goods like I do, it's the people who buy from you. This is a powerful system that we're creating. And more importantly, I think anyway, a lot of us represent companies in rural areas. And so one of the ways that we can help support the economy in rural areas is by helping those companies stay independent and stay in those home places. And ESOPs is one of them. It's something that we worked on in Colorado with the Colorado Commission on Employee Ownership. A lot of you serve and run companies that are in rural areas, and this is such an important topic for rural economies. For those of you who might not be in a rural area, being able to stay independent and stay active and competitive in your industry, this is one of the ways. So it is such a powerful tool, not just for employee wealth building, it's also a powerful tool to make sure the middle market economy is strong and can stay independent and can serve and recycle those dollars in the communities that we all love so much. There are profound ripple effects here. So I want you to feel that. I want you every day when I go to work in Moab, it's not just about being able to go there and ride your side-by-side, do some really cool hikes and ride your bike. It is a place of a thriving economy that helps. I work with BIVAR, I serve on their board in Orange County, California, another amazing company that has wonderful employees and it serves our company. Brinkman Construction in Colorado, an employee-owned construction company who really does better, higher quality work because they are employee-owned. PFS Brands, and also Grit Business Coaching, because we're under the PFS Brands umbrella, another company in Missouri in a very small community that has grown tremendously and provided many great jobs to companies. So I'm going to end with a Louis Kelso quote. I think I heard this first from Alex Moss, but the Louis Kelso quote, if you don't know who Louis Kelso is and you're new, that's a good research topic to have after this. But he was cited with saying the problem isn't capitalism, it's that there are not enough capitalists. And so you all in this room are those capitalists who are going to create the growth for so many people and ripple it out. So thank you all for being here, and thank you all for the work that you will do after this conference. Have a great conference.